This week on the EWA podcast, it's the collision of the two podcast hosts. So sit back and listen as Bryce talks about his illustrious return to the EWA.
Let's get married on the moon, where the skies are black instead of pouring gloom. You say you don't know, we'll decide soon. We'll both be really happy as Luna, bride and groom. How many times have you met a person without immediately despising their entire existence? Someone who's Jekyll to your Hyde to everyone. Sad from the common words they use every day. I miss you. I miss you.
And hello everyone, this is the EWA podcast, and my name is John, and Craig couldn't host it this week, and I just wanted to make sure that, the podcast made it out, and I'm retired, and I'm just kidding guys, it was me. It was me all along, EWA!
You had me fooled. I was like, how did John get on Craig's Skype name? Like, Jesus.
He flew out to Kansas City. He broke into my apartment, signed into my Skype. Damn you. You know, since John retired from the EWA, he has a ton of time on his hands.
Yeah, apparently.
He can do stuff like this. Anyways, welcome to the EWA podcast. My name is Craig. Believe it or not, we are back and better than ever. Coming off the heels of taking Chris's EWA podcast virginity, even though he has been on a bagpipe report. Mm-hmm. I decided to follow it up with someone who's making his illustrious return this week on Slam. It's the EWA's number one favorite Scotsman, and probably the world's 37th favorite. Bryce, welcome to the EWA podcast once again, my friend.
Hello, it's good to be back.
Yes, it is. Now, I'm just going to jump right into this, no pun intended. Let's talk about your leg and what happened around it. Now, for those of you who aren't friends with Bryce on Facebook, I envy you. And for those of you unaware, Bryce, I'm just going to put this out there before I tell the story, because I think that the Too Long Didn't Read version is hilarious. Bryce basically broke his leg doing an ice bucket challenge.
Yes,
which is like the greatest Too Long Didn't Read of all time. Did you go to Reddit and make a Today I Fucked Up post?
No, I did go to Reddit, and I think I posted in WTF on Reddit. I got like 4 replies, like, well, fuck you, Reddit.
I would have put that on Today I Fucked Up. But no, go ahead. I want you to tell the story from start to finish. I haven't watched the video. I don't deal well with like really gruesome things, so I don't know.
It's not gruesome at all. Don't worry.
Okay, well, then I might have to go watch it then. But yeah, why don't you tell the story of what happened, starting with what your plan was and how it went awry with the challenge.
Well, you know how you see ice bucket challenges on Facebook and everything, saying they're in their back garden and they throw water over themselves. So I thought, I want to do something different. So me and my friends drove out to a canal in Linlithgow, a little town near where I live, and we decided that I was going to jump in that canal. So when you see the video, you can put the video in the podcast if you want. I'll send it over to you. Okay. So basically what happened was I got water chucked over my head, and then I jumped into the canal. Now
I'm already cringing. I don't want to ruin your story, but I'm like already wincing at what's going to happen. But go ahead.
There's more. Right, apparently, the canal itself, the floor of the canal is all plants and soft things to land on. Mm-hmm. But when I jumped into the canal, apparently I landed on a rock that somebody threw into the canal. So my knee smashed against a rock, like a fucking 1 in a million shot, basically.
Oh my God.
And when I hit the water, when I hit the rock, I didn't think it was as bad as I was going to find out. Yeah. When I hit the rock, it was like, when you bash your knee off a table or something.
Yeah.
And you get
It's
the
like,
kind
oh,
of
that's
dead leg
strange.
pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, like hit the funny bone or whatever. So you'll see in the video that actually I got out pretty well. I've managed to get out with some help from my friends, but I got there in the end. It was 20 seconds later that I realised my knee was like halfway up my thigh.
Mm.
So we had to call the paramedics, who came out after about half an hour of fucking agony.
Yeah.
The canal itself was really far away from a road. It was kind of like a country park kind of thing. I don't know if you get it in America.
Right.
It's a canal basically. So they had to get the stretcher, and along the canal itself, there's barges. Do you know what a barge is?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a boat basically.
Yeah.
So I had to get on the boat itself on the stretcher, and then get taken down to the road, which is like 2 miles away at this point.
So you got taken by boat ambulance.
Yes, I did. Yes.
A boatulance.
Yeah.
All right, I tried.
And I got to the hospital. They put me in laughing gas and stuff to stop me from the pain, etc. The first thing they did, they had to obviously put my knee back in the joint.
That's probably like the worst part, right?
Yeah, it wasn't very nice. The nurses said they've never seen anything like it before. Apparently when someone dislocates their patella, it either goes to the left or the right, whereas mine just went halfway up my fucking thigh.
All right, congrats.
Yeah,
First
so
time.
first time ever, you know.
Medical dictionaries, here you come.
Yeah, so after that I got an x-ray and stuff, and then I got put to my bed in the hospital. And my bed was literally right across from the desk where they have all the computers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw them all crowding around the computer. Like, obviously, they just got my x-ray through. And, like, 4 nurses and doctors all at the same time kind of just went sharp inhale of breath. So they came over and told me that I had dislocated my patella, broke my leg in 4 places, and detached one of my tendons in my legs. So that's the damage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And
so I made an arse of it.
I feel like the lesson we can take from this is don't fuck with The Rock.
Yeah,
right?
don't. Oh, and oh, yes, you're right.
So you really hit rock bottom in that canal.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place, right?
No, I can do these all night. Like, this really doesn't matter to me. Now, how long did you have to spend in the hospital?
I was actually away that day in the hospital. They let me go the same day.
Oh, really? Wow.
Surgery scheduled for the Thursday. I did it on the Sunday. Surgery was on the Thursday. So I had surgery on the Thursday, and I stayed until the Sunday. But between Thursday and Sunday were the most painful days of my life, seriously. Yeah. Like, see, getting the cast on my leg, I'm shaking thinking about it now. It was horrible. Like, no pain relief when they put the cast on. And they have to, like, mash, I don't know what the right word is, they have to mold the cast onto your leg. So one day after surgery they're like twisting and bending my leg, and it's
It's just making me wince in pain.
Yeah, let's talk about wrestling.
What was your doctor's name?
It's Dr. Hendricks.
It doesn't matter what your doctor's name was!
It's funny because I was wearing a Jimi Hendrix t-shirt at the time, and my doctor's name was Jimi Hendrix. Not Jimi Hendrix, Dr. Hendrix. I don't know what his first name was. I hope
it's a left-handed guitar player / doctor. All right, so you're not working, I guess, right now? Are you like on medical leave from work?
Medical leave on sick pay, yeah.
Wow.
I'm off for the official time I'm off for is 8 weeks, but I've got 6 weeks left now.
You just recently started that job, right?
Yeah, I started in February.
That sucks.
Yeah, they're not too happy about it, but there's
well,
nothing really I can do. Like,
so work from home, I guess.
I've emailed the boss and say I can work from home, I can do this and that, but she's not got back to me, so fuck her.
I think whenever you go on like a medical leave like at least in America, like you're not allowed to contact your work at all.
Really?
Yeah, that's how it is here. Like my boss is currently out on medical leave, and I try and reach out to him for stuff I need done, and he just never responds. So he's either just lazy or we can't talk to him. So
maybe it's that then, I don't know.
Now, with all this free time on your hands, you have decided to get back, or not get back into, but make a comeback to the EWA, and you're having your first match back, your first match that you'll role play for in a long time, if I remember correctly. You had a match with Shark Boy, but I don't think you role played for it because it was a fixed ending with Kevin Steen, right?
No,
That was
that
a-
wasn't actually me. No, that was me. I did do a roleplay for that. I think it was Newt's idea to dress someone up as Shark Boy. I've totally
Right,
forgotten.
and then it was like, oh, Kevin Steen's too fat to be Shark Boy. And I was
yeah,
like,
that's right. Yeah.
semantics. We're an E-Fed, okay? So. But no, you're making your comeback, but not as Shark Boy. You're coming back as William Regal.
I am.
And I noticed when you reached out to me and said, hey, I'm going to be coming back. I'd love to come on the podcast and talk about it with my comeback. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. But then I read Slam, and then I read Slam again, and I read it once more. I didn't see a mention of William Regal on there. This is just a cold comeback.
Yeah, kind of. I've got a story to work with, which would make sense for Regal to randomly show up in Slam asking for a match. So when you see the role plays and stuff, you'll get a hint of the story and you'll see why I came back willy-nilly, kind of.
Right, because it's difficult to, especially with an established character, but it's something I did with Cody, but it was, I went with I didn't want any fanfare, super face, bullshit that I hate doing. Writing as a face is so difficult. So yeah, I was surprised to see that Regal was coming back with little to absolutely no fanfare.
Yeah. No, well, you'll see reading the role plays. I've got a full story sorted out for it, so it's a kind of a wait and see kind of thing.
Okay, and you have undoubtedly one of the bigger names under, as one of your characters in Kurt Angle. A tremendous character, probably. And I mean, no ill offense by this. It's definitely a compliment, but definitely your most well-known character.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And who you've had the greatest amount of success on, especially recently. But you chose to come back as William Regal. Was there a reasoning behind that decision?
There's not really a reasoning. He's someone who I feel hasn't been used very well the past year. I mean, he was Burchell's manager when Dan was around, and I didn't get too much input with that at all. So I feel like it was kind of taken away from me, much like Shark Girl was taken away from me. I think people just steal my characters and then think I'm going to be okay with it.
I've been using Kurt Angle for weeks, so
I didn't read.
I don't know if you've been reading my stuff, but I've actually just started using Kurt Angle and all my. In fact, I figured nobody reads my stuff, so I've been using everybody's characters in the role plays. Whatever gets people to read my stuff, I've been using all your characters. So.
We're going to have to look into that.
So you just wanted to come back with Regal, kind of give him, is this going to be like a fresh start type thing? Should we expect that, or should we expect a continuance off when we last saw him?
You should expect a fresh start, yeah. There's going to be references to his old stuff. I mean, obviously, he's a former Super Bowl winner, King of the Ring, Civil War, Triple Crown champion, etc. So there's always going to be that stuff coming into play, history-wise. But as he's coming back, it's going to be a new, fresh start for him, I would say. Character-wise, I won't give too much away, but something tragic has happened in his life, and he's had to come back to TWA. More will be revealed.
Is this the thing where, like, he jumped in a canal doing an ice bucket
challenge? Yeah, he was
challenge?
doing an ice bucket challenge, and then...
Sorry, spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear the William Regal ice bucket challenge storyline, you should probably turn away now. All right, so you when was your last official match? Do you know? Was it Super Brawl? Or you did some tag title stuff after that, right?
My memory
you had to drop the titles with Brady.
My memory is extremely hazy on that.
Yeah, at the January pay-per-view, but I can't remember.
No, I believe I did win Super Bowl, and then
single-handed.
No, I didn't win the tag titles. Remember that was Super Bowl when the winner became number one contenders.
So was the Super Brawl... Oh, okay, so yeah, you guys got the next shot at it then.
Yeah, that's right, I think, and we failed at that. I think we were facing the Vegas Connection, I think that's who it was. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we lost at that. I think we put together some pretty good stuff. Brady's fucking crazy, so I think we coped pretty well with it.
Yeah, and I think that was like your last real official effort in the EWA, for lack of a better term.
I would say so, because February I got the new job, and I just start getting busy all the time. I mean, my job's now in Glasgow, and it's taking 13, 14 hours out of my day just getting there and back, and I had no time to roleplay, basically. But I'm looking for new jobs now, looking for something a bit closer to home, something more accessible, because I'm going to be in crutches for a fair while. And my current job, there's a lot of stairs, and there's no elevator or anything, so I'm going to have to find something closer at home. So obviously that will cut down the travelling time and that'll give me more time to get back in EWA.
Now, with your comeback, it could easily be linked to your unfortunate injury and the amount of free time that you have on your hands. But is there any other reasoning behind your return to the EWA?
Yeah, actually, what motivated me mainly was the board changes. I think that thread that somebody, I think it was Newt put up originally, saying, what can I change here? As I was reading through that, there were so many ideas brought up that I was like, yeah, that'd be great. It kind of motivated me to come back.
I think as far, that's something that I've discussed with Chris and John on the last two podcasts. It's been, a definite topic of conversation. I think there were some ideas in there that are practical and reasonable and could be bigger changes. What were some of the ones that stuck out to you that you remember?
The ones that stuck out to me was, I think it was Corey maybe who brought up the idea of EWA being bought out. Just kind of a fresh, well, not a fresh start, so to speak, but new commentators and a new maybe a new show, different from Slam, or Slam with different theme or whatever. Maybe as much as Newt plays a great Harry Smith, why not get a new 40 figure in, someone who we can bounce more storylines off. New backstage interviewers, that kind of stuff. Just a new kind of scene for EWA for us to work with, because it has been, although it has been great, it has been the same for the past 3 years now, right?
Yeah, I mean, for as long as I've been here, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think if there's one thing I've learned in my time here in the EWA, though, it's Newt is a traditionalist.
Yeah, he is. He strikes me as someone who doesn't like change, and I'm not saying the change is 100% necessary. All I'm saying is that that's what kind of made me start thinking, yeah, I'd like to be a part of this kind of thing.
And I think the Fed could use a jolt of activity, especially at the top. I'll be the first one to champion, and I know it was reiterated in the Slam feedback this week. It was disappointing to see a lack of Grand Slam champion and national champion on Slam this week.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they have to be on there every week, and we're living in a time right now where Brock Lesnar is not ever present on Raw.
Yeah.
But we're not the WWE. We're not the WWE universe. Like this, Brock has obligations in his life, whereas we can't really justify that for Dean Ambrose and Richard Blood. Like there has to be some development of story every week, or you start to
exactly. You would expect that. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I was completely surprised to get to the end of Slam. I think it was the last match was like a tag match between you guys, and then it just ended. I was like, is that it? Like,
yeah, I was fully expecting something more to be after that, but it did not wind up culminating. Now we have a Slam coming up here, and if you take a look at the people on the show. We have William Regal making his comeback with Ultimo Dragon. Will be Brian's second match. Brent Albright, who's coming back after a ring of inactivity against Seth Rollins, who will be in his second match. And then we have
last match, probably.
Garrett Bischoff and Carl Anderson, who are still pretty new. We have Teddy Hart versus Doc Gallows, both new members, and Samuel Shaw versus Shelton Benjamin, and Sam Shaw making his first appearance. I'm going to leave out the tag match because Cameron's been around for a long time, as have Brett and I. The point I was really trying to get across here is we have, new blood, whether they're new writers or not. We have, fresh characters and, stories that are starting to be established and moving forward. And, while there was a lack of Ambrose, and while there was a lack of Wyatt and Steamboat and Steen and De Niro and DDP, we're having these people step up, and the stories are starting to develop. So of those matches, besides your own, which one are you most looking forward to seeing what comes out of it?
I'm honestly looking forward to all of them. I mean, what I read in the Slam last week is really encouraging. I don't know where these guys came from, but I liked the Teddy Hart segment with Tyson Kidd, and I liked the Garrett Bischoff and Eric Bischoff segment as well. Lots of encouraging stuff coming out from these guys, so I'm looking forward to reading everything, really. Definitely got time to do it.
And it's always the feuds that don't involve titles, I feel, are the most difficult to develop. Because you have to have a reason to establish the feud.
Exactly.
And I feel like, honestly, Chris and the guy who plays Garrett Bischoff, have done a tremendous job in storytelling.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the veteran versus the cocky young guy, yeah.
Yeah, and Shelton being in with Jeff's, whatever he's calling his group now, I apologize.
Dynasty, is it?
Yeah, the Dynasty, not knowing the term there. That's an odd match, but as Chris said last week, he's going to learn a lot from working with Jeff, hopefully on these segments and stuff, and learning how to move forward. So
he's definitely getting better. I mean, this is a guy who has never touched defense before, and he's been here how long now? Is that a year now?
Yeah, it's a little under a year he's been here.
Under a year, and he's improved so much, so he's only going to get better. It's only a matter of time before he's making his way into the kind of Grand Slam championship scene, etc.
Well, yeah, and it's always just about constant improvement, and he has the commitment, which is not something that you see after a long rash of losing like he had. But as he also said, it's an attitude, and it's something we all had to go through as well.
Exactly.
Chris aside, who are some of your favorite people to read these days?
I'll be honest, I have not read much since I got back. That's a fault of my own. I've only really read slams, so I've not really delved too much into roleplay, so I can't really speak for that.
Mm-hmm.
All I've really read is shows, but promising stuff from Garrett Bischoff, Eric Bischoff, Teddy Hart, Chris himself, and obviously Tag Team Champions.
Well, let's just go all time then. Who have been some of your favorite characters in the EWA in your tenure here?
I'll go by role players. My favorite role players.
Okay, yeah.
Always say a top 5, and then maybe you do a top 5 as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds great. So first, I would probably say Dylan. Obviously, one of my best.
Was that 1 or 5? No, seriously, is he 1? Are you going with 1 or 5 first?
Best to, well, I wouldn't say best to worst, but I'd say Dylan is my favorite.
Highest to lowest. Okay.
Yeah, highest to lowest. I'd say Dylan is my favorite role player. I've read his stuff for 8-9 years now. It's always been stellar. I'm looking forward to him coming back with a serious character. Not that I have anything against the BWO, but I just know how good he is with his Lance Storms and his Steve Blackmans and everything else. So I'd definitely put him first.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you put first?
I would say John. Just the way that he has taken the Corino character and diversified it and put him in so many varying situations, and anything you can think of, and his writing just comes across as natural, and you know, the way he paints the picture, along with the way, you know, he gets you emotionally invested in the Corino. Like there were times during his heel run where I was reading it and I was like I fucking hate this guy. You know, like I would read Corino's heel stuff and I'm like, he's just a prick. And then when you read his face stuff, you're like, God, I just want him to get Burchill, you know? Yeah, like I just want him to do good. I just want you to do good. So
you wish him all the best.
Yeah, the way that he can elicit an emotion from you, I think is like the biggest talent we can have as writers. So I would put John as my number 1 personally.
Absolutely. I'd probably put John second, to be honest with you, behind Dylan, just because when I was starting off in the UWA, John had just come in from ROH, and I started reading his stuff, and it was him that by reading his role plays, I feel I got better at role playing. Because I always remember reading John's role plays, and I always wondered, when I was writing my role plays at the time, I was wondering when you go, how do I split up talking? Because you know, you can't just have a big wall of text, some guy talking, and at the end of the role play, you've got to have actions in the middle and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was from reading John's role plays that I pretty much discovered how to let the words sink into the reader by having some actions in between the words, just to let it cool off before you start speaking again.
Yeah, to paint the picture, as to say.
Yes, set the scene, etc.
It's ironic that you went with your inspiration at number 2, because I was about ready to go with my inspiration at number 2 as well.
Go for it.
For the transformation I made. I'm going to put Teasy as probably the second best one I've seen. He is absolutely the inspiration for the way I write today. And that goes from facing, and you know full well, facing him and going up against him. And I hate to say that I mirrored his style, but I think I adapted to his style after that, because it was like, I remember reading his stuff going like, holy shit, like I can to a T visualize everything that he's saying.
Yep.
And
exactly.
like, I don't, you know, John's a great writer, but no one set the scene like Teasy did. I mean, he made you visualize the world that he was putting CM Punk in at that time. And I think he did tremendous stuff. And yeah, he's probably my number 2 and probably my biggest inspiration in the way that I write today.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, definitely inspiration to anyone who's read his role plays. I would definitely agree with that. It would be interesting to see him come back and maybe do something not CM Punk.
Yeah.
See how he gets on, because I've only really seen him do one character. So I don't know if he has any intentions of coming back. I've not really spoke to him that much in the past few months. I think he sent me a get well message when I hurt my knee, but that's about it. But I would like to see him come back. Yeah. Third for me would probably be, to be honest, Fuzz. I read his role plays. I think some of my favourite role plays ever were his role plays last year when he was ironically facing CM Punk.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. I forgot how it came about, but
it was that match came about because they had like a triple threat match with Kevin Nash or something. The winner got to take on. But then he did like the therapist role plays and really got you into the mind of DDP.
Exactly, the role plays and talking about his ex-wife and stuff in them, and riding to the show and everything else. Those stick out in my mind as some of the best role plays I've ever read. So I'd definitely put Fuzz forward, despite our bickerings in OOC.
You should, as I said recently in the feedback as well, you should read his most recent stuff. He's doing some crazy stuff with Tammy. Like his role plays have been very Tammy-centric, and there's no formatting, so it's kind of like got a darker tone to it, and just it's compelling storytelling that he's going out and doing right now.
The words speak for themselves kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. My third is Brett, just because he's just had a high level of success no matter what he's tried to do with any character. And I've got to work with him in the tag team setting now a couple times. And watching him work and watching his ideas create and flow has been obviously an inspiration on me as well. And
absolutely.
It's hard to deny the level of success that he's had and say that he's not one of the more talented writers around, you know. So he's pretty much done it all now that he's tag team champs, Grand Slam, National, and tag team. So, you know, it's hard to argue with that. And
absolutely. I mean, you've worked with Brett a lot. I've worked with Brett a lot as well. You know, several feuds with Kurt Angle, a Scourge, and everything else with Val Venus. So very, very hard to roleplay against because the guy's pretty much unstoppable. I do remember he told me once when it was Kurt Angle versus Val Venus last year or so, he was trying to wear me out, so to speak, by having matches every week in Slam and having matches every week on Fury as well. Yeah. He actually invested me to try to wear me out, which was kind of dirty, but also I respected it as well because it's actually quite smart. But yeah, he's definitely up there in some of the best of all time, so fair play to him.
Yeah.
Fourth. No, you went third, didn't you? Brett's your third, right?
Yeah, Brett's my third.
So fourth for me, I would say, is probably Dan, as Paul Burchill. Part of the reason why I gave him Regal to start off with, I said, yeah, you could use him for a few seconds, or whatever, just because I love his writing style. I mean, his role plays were so funny. The whole kind of British kind of sense of humour, which I loved reading in his role plays, and it's just something I've never seen from anybody else before, and I'm actually looking to emulate some of that in my William Regal run going forward. So it's a shame he's not here to see that. Fourth for you?
I'm going to go with you. You know, you've had a very high level of success here in my time in the EWA as well, and I'm going to point out something that you probably aren't expecting, but you're Scottish, but you nail the Americanism and tone of Kurt Angle
Thank you.
Exceedingly well. Much like, you know, TZ did with Punk, you could really hear CM Punk's voice with the way TZ told it, and you could really hear Kurt Angle whenever you read your role plays because of how you wrote his dialogue.
Wow, thank you so much. I mean, That's probably partly, I've been a Kurt Angle fan since I started watching wrestling. I think he was originally my first favourite wrestler. When I was 8 years old, I remember The Rock beat my pay-per-view once, and I had a Rock poster on the wall, and I remember tearing it down in frustration that The Rock beat Kurt Angle, because I think Kurt Angle was in tears after he lost, and I was like 8 years old at the time. Like, I was in tears as well. I absolutely hated The Rock. But yeah, I've liked Kurt Angle for years and years and years and years, so it's just through watching his stuff that I guess I've managed to convey that tone of Kurt Angle, so thank you for that.
Oh, no problem.
Fifth I would probably say is joint between Teasy and yourself, mainly because of the feud you guys had, which I was a massive fan of. I read every single thing in that feud, your role plays and his role plays and the segments and everything, just working together so well. And to be honest, I think you should have won. I think you should have won. Was it the is it Metal Mayhem? What was the match called? It was the Elimination Chamber, and it was...
Yeah, it was like a Crucible of Carnage or something like that.
I remember. Something like that.
It was an Elimination Chamber with weapons in each corner.
That's right, yeah. The name of it completely escapes me, but I genuinely believe you should have won that match. It was close, but I genuinely believe you should have won. But yeah, I'd say joint 5th and 6th would be you and Teasy, definitely.
Well, I appreciate that. It's kind of funny. A story no one knows about is the month before, whenever we had our match at Red, White, and Bruised, like, I had a chance to do it. And Teasy sent me a PM that Friday night and said, hey, man, I've got this band gig or something going on, and I can only get 2 role plays up. And I went through, like, the moral dilemma in my head. I was like, I can post a third. And I can post a third and win this title.
Cody Rhodes is riding a skateboard.
And do something that I've set out to do since day one here. And then as I sat there at my computer that day, like, I had the blank page up in front of me, and I just, like, I couldn't do it that way. I couldn't. I couldn't win that way, and I didn't message Teasy back until that night. And I was like, yeah, man, that's cool. Don't worry about it. Like, I could have done it. And I told, like, I think, Jazz and I were, like, talking that day, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna write it, and then I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. He was a wounded animal, and I could not put him down. Instead,
that's an testament to you as a person, to be honest. I mean, I would have done that. No way. I would have done that straight away. Like,
I picked him up, and I took him to the hospital, and I said, I'm going to beat you fair and square with these 2 plays. And then what happened? I got screwed over, and I was like, well, I think I'll just take my challenge the next month. I'm sure you were like that, too.
To blame.
Yeah, you were like, you know what? Fuck you, Teasy. I'm going to put Kurt Angle's career on the line. That'll show you. Like, oh, shit, I lost. Like, what was your reaction when Kurt Angle lost that match with his career on?
Oh, God.
Was that something you anticipated?
It was, and it wasn't. I genuinely believe I had Teasy beat that time. Newt told me Kurt Angle was getting a bit stale and needed a bit of a break, and that's how we came up with the whole suicide thing. So I think that was what kind of tipped it towards Teasy's victory, because he was still kind of fresh at the time. But I was shocked. I don't want to sound big-headed, but I genuinely believe my best work was put out that week against Teasy. Until Suicide, I believe my best work ever was Suicide, but until Suicide, Kurt Angle that week was my best work, and I was very, very shocked that I got beat.
Yeah. Leading up to this exact moment in time, what has been your personal favorite feud that you've had in your time in EWA?
I don't know. It's got to be. I don't know. Feud storyline. It's hard for me to say because there's been so many. I mean, there's one years and years and years ago. It was William Regal versus Jimmy Jacobs, which was John. I loved that feud. I think that ended in a steel cage match for the US title, and I think it was Triple Crown title at the time. But I loved that feud, and the feud with Teasy as well. I loved that, and Val Venus, and lots and lots of feuds. I think there's a William Regal Lance Storm feud as well, which is brilliant back in the day. But there's so many, I could not pick just one. I couldn't.
What about do you have a favorite feud that you weren't involved in?
Well, like I said earlier, I would say yourself and Cheesy. I'd say that, and then there's obviously the Carino and there's Burcho, and yeah, I'd say those two, and then I did enjoy Harry Smith and Randy Orton as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's loads to stick out. Again, I can't pick just one because I can't.
Have we seen the last of Kurt Angle as controlled by Bryce?
No, I don't think you have. But right now, I have no idea what I'm doing with Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
The whole suicide thing was kind of sprung upon me. There was no real end game, and I had no idea what I was working towards. I mean, it was new who came up originally. I think Suicide attacked Kurt Angle at Super Brawl, and that's what led to his elimination. But there was no end game. There was no Suicide is going to be this person. I mean, I sent out a couple of feelers to like Teasy and stuff, but obviously Teasy was dealing with personal problems at the time, so he couldn't come out and be Suicide, because I think CM Punk would be the most obvious choice.
Right.
And I sent out. I was thinking having Tomko as Suicide, or maybe Tomko hiring someone to be Suicide. But that fell apart when his name escapes me, as Tyler. Shirley. When he basically left. So it basically fizzled to an end, and I'm kind of disappointed at that. I mean, I think I read Fuzzy's post in the thread where it's asking for change and stuff. They said they want some closure on the Suicide Angle storyline, but as of right now, I've not read anything. So I do.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Could we potentially see some closure, or at least advancement on the Suicide storyline?
I would like to. I might even work some of that into the William Regal stuff. We'll see. But I will do my best, because I do want to end that storyline. I don't want to leave it just kind of hanging there, because Suicide's one of my proudest kind of things in EWA. I don't want it to end just like in thin air.
Listen, I'm just going to throw this out here, and I might have to edit this out because it's so fucking awesome. But what if Suicide came back and it was Steve Corino?
Oh, that would shock a lot of people.
What do you think John's going to do from here on? I mean, he says Corino's done, but we've been down this road with many different characters and different people, but John's a different beast.
I don't know. Let's ask him. John, what do you think's going to happen with your next character?
Well, right now I'm just enjoying taking some time off and really enjoying NXT when I can watch it, but don't have the WWE Network right now and just kind of downloading torrents to watch wrestling. But there's this guy on NXT I'm really enjoying. His name is Mojo Rawley. He's highly entertaining, and I love his finishing. And I love his finishing moves, so I think if I came back to the EWA, I would probably be Mojo Rawley. Well, there you hear it right from the horse's mouth.
Well, there you go. That's John speaking for himself.
John, ladies and gentlemen, is coming back as Mojo Rawley. He's going to get hype and stay hype. No, what are your thoughts on the fact that Steve Corino is done?
I think the heel turn was a good idea. Nobody's seen that coming. So it did get a bit of juice out of the character before he ended it, because Corino was face for like 10 years, something, I don't know.
Yeah.
So the heel character was a nice twist. But it's good that it's come to an end now, because I would like to see John come back as somebody else.
Uh-huh.
I would love to see John not come back as one of your generic indie guys like Jimmy Jacobs, although he was a very good Jimmy Jacobs. I would like to see John come back as someone...
John Cena? Oh.
Yes, John Cena. Well, maybe actually, because I want to see him come back as somebody who has never really been perfected in an E-Fed, similar to how, Bick did The Rock.
Yeah,
or
like
how
Kane or The Undertaker.
Kane, Undertaker, John Cena, Hulk Hogan, someone along those lines. I would love to see John come back as one of them, just because I know he can do it. I'd love to see an Undertaker and an E-Fed pulled off correctly, like a Kane pulled off a really kind of sinister backstory or something, but obviously it's up to John in the end, but if it was up to me, that's who I would choose John to play next.
And, Chris and I talked about this on the podcast last week with K2 and Bray Wyatt, and it's probably why K2 is taking some time off right now, is because characters like that are so hard to keep a consistent voice
Absolutely.
and story with whenever you do, like, it's so hard to be the
Absolutely.
Undertaker because you come out in your role plays and you're like, I'm the dead man, you can't fucking hurt me. And the guy's like, and Jeff Jarrett hits you with a guitar, you know? Like, it's such a difficult voice
Absolutely.
to sustain over a long period of time. You almost kind of have to go American Badass or Corporate Kane.
Yes, exactly. But John has the skill to pull it off. That's the thing.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, I'm not saying that Casey doesn't for a start there. Obviously, it is really hard to maintain those kind of characters. I mean, towards the end of the Suicide storyline, I was really struggling to kind of get Suicide's character, come up with new stuff for him. So I know exactly how hard it is. I mean, I basically sent a PM to Newt saying, I'm running out of ideas here for Suicide. You're going to have to get this comeback sorted soon. But I know exactly what it's like to play those kind of characters. I know it is hard, but John being potentially in the top 3 of all time in EWA, you know, he has the skill to do it.
Right. You've been around the EWA for a long time.
Yes.
You've seen a lot of people come and go. You've seen some very talented writers come and go. Hell, even in my short amount of time here, as compared to yours, I've seen some talented writers come and go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you the option to have one person, character, whatever, come back full-time into the EWA and have that roster member be consistent on the shows week in, week out. Who do you choose and why?
That's a hard one. Steve Blackman. Steve Blackman, 100% Steve Blackman, I'd say.
Oh, wow.
Just
And, you know,
because-
that just has to be the only time Steve Blackman has been an answer to the question.
To anything.
I wish this person would come back. It has to be in the E-Fed sense, to where Steve Blackman is the answer to that question.
No, absolutely. I'd love to see a Steve Blackman return. I mean, I forgot to include him in my favourite feuds, actually. Kurt Angle and Steve Blackman had a great feud, which was kind of overlooked because that's when Sir decided to, break down the board. So we're doing the feud on the new forum.
Oh, yeah. Delete Shark Boy.
Aye, deleted Shark Boy as well. I actually thought Newt deleted William Regal's profile. And I sent him an email saying, Newt, what the fuck, I've had that since 2006. And he's like, no, it's alright, dude, it's just in a hidden section. And I look at it, and if you look at the William Regal profile, it's a fucking mess of HTML and just shit.
Oh, yeah. I wish that there was a way. Can you just go back in and like put the code HTML and then at the end put /HTML and it makes it work on those old posts?
Hope so. I've not tried yet. I hope
Because if so,
Try that.
Newt should just pay somebody to just do that. Like, give somebody like $10, go in, and just put that code in every show.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
Absolutely, yeah.
taxing.
It's taxing. There's so many shows to do as well. But back to Steve Blackman. I mean,
Yeah.
I love Steve Blackman's character. I love the way Dylan played him. It's potentially his best character in any feed I've seen him. So cold, calculated kind of character. Of his old fashion and everything else. Just really, really good. I would love to see Steve Blackman come back.
Well, let me ask you this. You and Dylan are obnoxiously close. What are the benefits or downsides to working a high-level feud with someone that you're really good friends with?
It's more you can bounce ideas off each other a lot better. You're never going to offend a person by saying, I want Kurt Angle to look good this week or whatever. You also, because we've been writing with each other for 8-9 years, we know each other's style for writing. We know where everyone's going with something. We can bounce ideas that way. So I think it does work very well that way, being friends with someone for so long and then working a storyline with them. I mean, you know yourself with Brett. I mean, you've been friends with Brett for quite a while now, or even more so Jazz.
Right.
So you know yourself, I mean, what would you say?
Well, Brett and I have never worked a feud. We've only done team stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, Jazz and I have gone against each other, and he'll probably never listen to this because he's an awful friend that doesn't support me in the things I do. But but I just felt, I felt bad going into that match that one of us was going to win and one of us was going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I in Jazz's whole time here, I wanted to see him beat everyone he went up against. From Brian Powers to you to Brett to whoever he faced. Like, I always wanted to see Jazz do well.
Yeah.
So that's why when
the time came a couple times for us to go up against each other, I was like, God, like
I'm
like,
way too good for him.
I was just like, I don't want to lose,
No.
but I don't want him to lose. So I don't know, it was tough for me, and those were just one-off slam matches. I couldn't imagine having a high-level feud with Brett or Jazz to where like a title was on the line. And
maybe that's a Cleve Fuss mentality. They don't want to face each other because they don't want to see everyone beat the other one, if you get me.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want someone to be better than the other. So it's highly respectable that you feel that way about Jazz. I mean, I don't feel the same way about Dylan just because we've had so many matches over the years, literally loads. But I do see where you're coming from in that regard.
Yeah. Let's get on the topic to the EWA as it stands right now.
Sure.
I know you haven't read a whole lot of stuff. I'm just going to put you on the spot right now.
Sure.
Super Brawl is next week. Name me 4 captains. I'll give you Ambrose.
Ambrose, yeah. Ambrose followed by DDP, followed by a wild card in Al Snow. Because why not? Nah, maybe not.
Because why not?
Because why not? And Bray Wyatt, I would say. Maybe a Zigzag in there somewhere, Dolph Ziggler or somebody, Big E maybe, someone along those lines. But I assume I would choose captains if it was next week. What about you?
It's tough. I would probably go. I liked your pick of DDP. I'd probably go DDP, Ambrose. It's tough to know about Bray Wyatt because he's been out of commission for the last 4 weeks now, and I think K2 is kind of just taken aback.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to say. It's tough to say Richard Blood because, he has the high-profile win right now over Steve Corino, but I'd like to see. I'm looking forward, if we're going to get Dean Ambrose and Richard Blood, I'm looking forward to seeing the work Brady's going to put out in that match and see what kind of level he can take the Richard Blood character to.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't say I've read too much Richard Blood, I hate to say, but from what I've seen, he does look like a very good character. Interesting name change. I will need to read more of his stuff.
Yeah, I would say in the time I've been here, this is the most depth that Brady has given one of his characters, and it's paid off because he's having a very high level of success with him.
Absolutely, especially by beating Steve Corino. I mean, who does that these days? Not many people beat John.
No, not many people at all. I'd like to point out that the last Slam before Super Brawl, I beat Steve Corino. So
you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Cody Rhodes. It was supposed to be his last singles match, and then you know what happened? Fucking
Hit you
right
with
in
a
the
guitar.
butt.
I showed up next week and turned heel on you at
I'm a
Super
bad
Brawl.
guy
You
now.
Piece of shit, John. Bad guy, John.
Were you genuinely upset by that? I mean, did that?
No,
did that
not at all.
interest
Not
you?
at all. No, not at all. I'm going to come clean right now.
Go for it.
I don't care nearly as much as I did a year ago this time, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be straight up honest with you just because you're the one on the podcast and it's ironic. When the suicide thing went down, like emotionally, I was pissed. I was pissed, and I was
could tell you were on the fucking podcast. You were grilling me every single question.
Yeah, I was kind of pissed. I was kind of angry, and then I did the podcast, and then I read the replies. Was like, man, you fucking grilled him and stuff, and I was like, not really. And then in my head, I was like, wait, why? Why do I? I literally sat down and was like, I'm 29. I'm a full-grown man. Why am I investing so much emotion into us having fun? And that's when I stopped caring. I had worked losses in January to help get guys like Rampage Jackson over because I wanted to take him to the next level.
Yeah.
And bring him with me. I had this idea of the Horseman, and then Rampage Jackson screwed me over, and Lashley screwed me over by leaving, and I had all this stuff set in place, and I just I stopped caring. And Super Brawl, I really didn't care. I will go down as saying, I think for that event, I think we beat Team Corino. And I think it was real close. And I think for the event itself,
I feel like we won, but for the overall storytelling of a year's worth of work, I think that gave John just enough to get that last little bit at the end. And it's not a knock on John, and it's not a knock on you and his team. Like, I just think that he had the benefit of having a full year's worth of storytelling culminate in a Hollywood Hogan-esque heel turn on the biggest show of the year. And I think that's what was able to give him that little extra boost that team needed to beat us. Because I really do feel like we wrote the best stuff that week of everyone.
Absolutely. I don't think by any means this team would have been unbeatable at Super Bowl. I mean, you could have beat them, you never know. But you're making them seem like no one could beat them because of John's work.
Right.
But it could have happened, you know. It needs.
Oh yeah.
He's a crazy character, like.
Yeah, I didn't mean for it to come across that way, and it could have been one of those things where like Cody or Val, for that matter, win the match, and then afterwards Corino goes to hand him the title, but then like decks him in the face with it, Yeah,
the same could happen. You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, we'll never know what Newt's thinking, but
the way it. Well, maybe here in a couple weeks we'll know. But yeah, for the way it was told, I wasn't upset. I was like, what? Do you ever have a problem whenever you're reading the results where, like, you're scrolling down and then, like, you see the giant font that has, like, the winner's name and you're trying not to look at it?
Yes.
But you're, like, reading the lines, you're like, no. Like, you try and, like, scroll up just, like, centimeter by centimeter to where, like...
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah, like, I read the results. Like, and especially the matches I'm in, I go with, like, a fine-tooth comb, But then, like, as soon as I get towards the end, I see, like, the giant font. It's like, winner, and it's like, I can see the top of the letters, and I'm like, no, Craig, there's just one paragraph left. You only have to make it
made it this far. Like.
Yeah, and I'm just like, so I try and, like, grab the bar on the right side and, like, move it, like, ever so slightly so I won't be ruined by it. I remember King of the Ring last year. I was just laying in bed, and it was posted overnight. And so, like, I was just scrolling on my phone, and I was doing a good job. Like, I was going so slow. Like, I was reading the match between Tomko and I for the King of the Ring. And then, like, I got at the very end, and, like, my dog jumped on me, and I, like, moved my finger really fast. It was like, Cody Rhodes! And I was like, God damn it, dog! Just read, like, an hour's worth of writing. So, yeah, it's good to know that you have the same problem, too. I'm sure everybody else...
the exact same thing, don't you worry.
I'm glad it's much better than the people that just go right to the big bold font and don't really care about the match being written. I mean, I will say this: it's got to be taxing for Newt to just write matches week in and week out.
Yeah, no, he does a good job. He does. I mean,
and Steve as well in TNA. I don't know if you're a member over there, but I know that
I'm a member over there. I think I don't go there that often, but obviously I assume he's doing a good job over there because he's doing good stuff over here as well. But yeah, I mean, Newt does a great job. I mean, I would say it's obvious there's a lot of people here who don't read the matches, but the fact that Newt keeps it up for the people who actually do is great. I mean, for whoever reads the matches,
Okay, now I have a question. This is something I keep meaning to ask, but I don't want to feel like I'm on the outside.
Go for
it. Every week, whenever that top picture of Joey Styles and Don West is put up, is that guy's head in between the two? Is that somebody we know?
Let me have a look.
I think it might just be at pay-per-views, but I feel like it's been referenced. I feel like it's been referenced before, where like somebody, I don't know if that's somebody that has been around for a while.
Hold on, let me a second. You didn't say your number 5 top row player. You say that when I look at this.
What?
You got to number 4 in your top row players, didn't you?
Yeah, I couldn't really pick a fifth. I don't want to have to choose between like Fuzz, Dylan, and Brian and all those guys. So everybody's tied for fifth. Except for Brian. Just kidding. Brian's not. No, but this guy's on pay-per-views. He's on the pay-per-view Don West, Joey Style banner every month. And I can't tell if it's a boy or a girl, but he's in every single month. And I feel like...
I can't say I've ever noticed that, no.
I wonder if maybe that's Newt. What if that's Newt?
Oh, that'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
That he puts himself in every single show. But no, it's the same person every month, and maybe that's just the picture that they use, but doesn't that face look like...
Is it a girl? Is it a girl?
I don't know. That face,
face
looks like it's intentionally there.
Yeah.
Like
that's
it's
kind of creepy.
Yeah, see, okay, look. Okay, I just went to Metal Mayhem, and it's a completely different background, like a completely different crowd. But that girl or boy or whoever that is still there. What if that's Newt? What if that's Newt?
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. That'd be fucking weird. And maybe Newt's girlfriend or something, or maybe Newt just looks like a girl. I don't know. But
he put a hot chick in the red, white, and bruised background. So
did he?
Thanks for that, Newt. She wasn't Asian, so I don't know if that was actually him that did that. But yeah, okay. Well, if you're listening to this and you have any insight on who that might be back there, I would assume Steve probably knows better than anybody else.
Steve knows everything.
Yeah, if it was somebody that was recognizable, then I'm sure
Steve will hear this and he'll give us a 20-paragraph reply explaining why it's Newt. Because that's what Steve does. You'll mention Steve in one sentence, and he'll give you a reply that's a fucking novel that you just can't read. But
which is ironic because you won't get that for this because Steve doesn't listen to podcasts. I don't think.
Does he not?
I don't know. He hasn't replied to a podcast in a long time.
Oh, he'll listen to me. He'll listen to me, definitely.
You think so?
I would say so.
All right.
I met up for a pint with Steve in the summer, actually.
You hung out with Steve?
I hung out with Steve, yeah. I went for a couple of pints.
Oh, yeah. I got those
Cup.
Snapchats. And I think we said in the shout box, we were all very surprised at how short he was.
Yeah, he's very, very small. I mean, I'm 6'3", 6'4".
I was going to say, you're huge.
Yeah, like, not in crutches, but he's like 5'2" or something. Like, a good foot or so between us, but he's smaller than I thought he would be.
Did you touch it? Did you touch the hand?
It's a very small hand. I didn't touch it. I didn't really want to touch it.
You should have done that. I wanted a Snapchat of like your hand pressed up to his, but like I could see his hand in front of yours.
We'll take requests for next time we meet up. You know.
Oh, that's going to be so glorious. Snapchat request for you and Steve. Well, is there anything else you'd like to talk about before our time here comes to an end, Bryce?
Absolutely not. I'm happy with how it's went.
Absolutely, I'm as well. Terrific podcast. I, for one, can say that I'm looking forward to reading your William Regal stuff this week. By the way, I just want to throw this out there. I think you might have been a part of it too, and if not, I apologize. But kudos to those people that replied to those asking for feedback. Like that.
Yes, I did see that. I didn't do it myself. I've been planning to give more feedback recently. But was it the Bad Company feedback? Yeah,
it was Bad Company, and then I want to say it was Teddy Hart. That there were two of them up, and I saw like 5 or 6 people replied, and they were good, well thought out replies. So, we had some good feedback in the Slam thread this week, and we had some good feedback to those that requested it. Which, feedback can go a long way, even if you're not saying a whole lot. I know it can be taxing to read other people's work.
Very
sometimes.
Optimistic, yeah, absolutely, and especially to read that work and then give an insight on it as well.
Yeah,
so
it's
very good to do.
With the cards stacked up as it is this week, as new people are posting their first role plays or their first real storyline introductions, if you have the time, make sure that you can give them a read. And if they ask for feedback, let's be more than welcoming and helping those people that got here.
Let's help make the next break to them. It's Chris, someone who has used feedback to make themselves better. So let's help build new stars, new WA.
Exactly. So, kudos to those that have given feedback. It was pretty cool to see that. So, big stuff on Slam this week. Tag team title match, the return of William Regal, and a bunch of guys are getting their first match in this week. So it's going to be an exciting time, and looking forward to the build-up to Cyber Sunday. Not real sure if there's a theme with it right now, or if it's just a regular pay-per-view.
You'd like to think so. There's some kind of choice in it. I don't know, like when they ask people to send in PMs or something.
Yeah, but I personally haven't heard anything, so hopefully we'll get some more information as the time gets closer. But, thanks for coming on, Bryce.
No worries, my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and if you guys would like to come on, just feel free to drop me a PM on the forum, and I'll shoot you my Skype name, and we can get something worked out. Always love having new blood on, and especially if you're listening to this and you have a long and tenured history and you have yet to come on. I know I've got a couple people that reached out to me that wanted to come on and talk about their long-standing history here, so maybe we can get something worked out. As for Bryce, always a pleasure. Looking forward to the next Bagpipe Report, whenever that may be. I know with doctor visits and your leg and everything else that you're a busy person, so hopefully it gets up sooner than later. And
I'll try to do one this month. There's no promises, but I'll do my best to get on this month. If anyone's interested in coming on the Bagpipe Report, shoot me over a PM, and I'll see what I can do.
All right, sounds good. And the Bagpipe Report, always a great listen as they touch on the storylines leading into the pay-per-view.
Thank you.
So for Craig and Bryce, this has been a pleasure, and thanks for listening.
Cheers.